Hi guys, what's up? My name is Amirza and we're today gonna talking about World War II. This series is gonna be 4 episodes and welcome to my first episode. Let's go fellows, without wasting the times. At the beginning of the 20th century, the world was divided into three main camps. Democratic countries such as the United Kingdom, United States of America, France, Netherlands, Czechoslovakia, whose governments elected by the people. Dictatorship countries such as a fascist Italy, Nazi Germany, and the nationalist Japan, and communist country of the Soviet Union, which was supposed to be run by the workers, but it was actually Stalin who ruled the problems between these three main camps in 1949 led to another World War. Well, democratic countries existed before World War I, but communist and the fascist dictatorial countries were established between World War I and World War II. Communists were against private property. In 1917, under the leadership of Vladimir Lenin, they took power in Russia and established the Soviet Union. Few countries trusted the Soviet Union, and the most countries did not accept the Soviet ideals. In 1922, Benito Mussolini made Italy a fascist country. In the 1930s, fascist governments came to power in Spain, Portugal, Austria, Romania, and Germany. But it was Germany that the Nazi Party gave an extreme form to fascist ideals. In Germany, the Nazi Party was formed under the leadership of Hitler in 1920, and this party took power in Germany in 1933. Hitler had great plans in his mind, which he informed the public in the book he wrote in 1924 named My Battle. Among Hitler's great goals, we can mention the extermination of Jews and the creation of a large army for Germany. Japan also felt inferior due to the fact that it was allotted a few lands in the First World War. After 15 years of a disappear, a huge nation has stood on its feet again. This sentence from Adolf Hitler. He said this sentence in 1933. Yes guys, this is the political situation of the world before World War II and during the World War II. Now I want to talk about the important events and the wars happened before the World War II. Let's go fellows, it's a show time. After World War I, the Treaty of Versailles was imposed on the Germans, and this country was prohibited from having an empire and a large army, and Hitler was one of the biggest opponents of this treaty. On the other hand, Mussolini wanted to build a new Roman Empire, so Italy attacked Abyssinia in 1935 and sent Emperor Haile Selassie into exile. On the other hand, we have Japan's attack on China. When Japan occupied the Manchuria province of China in 1933 and in 1937 in full-scale war against China, it captured the capital Nanking and most of the coastal part of this country. Another interesting fact about World War II is that Mussolini and Hitler were enemies at first, but they became closer in 1936, and in 1939 Germany and Italy signed the Steel Alliance. Even in 1938, European leaders decided to sign the Munich Pact to win Hitler's heart, but 6 months after that pact, Hitler occupied all of Czechoslovakia. According to the British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, this pact was a guarantee of peace, but unfortunately he was wrong, and in September 1939 the main war started with Germany's attack on Poland. Yes guys, this is the important events and the wars happened before the World War II. Now I want to talk about how countries prepared themselves for the World War II. Let's go. In the years 1948 and 1949, the war that cast a shadow over Europe and therefore Britain, France, Italy, and Germany had prepared themselves for the worst conditions with rationing programs of food and raw materials. France also learned from the First World War, so before the Nazi Party even won the elections in Germany between 1929 and 1934, it built a Maginot Line of defense. This defense line was on the eastern border of France with Germany. This structure had many underground artillery that were ready for battle at any moment, but Maginot couldn't survive against the Nazi attacks. On the other hand, many anti-gas masks were distributed among the people, but none of the countries used the gas. On the other hand, Britain considered small children as the future of the country, separated them from big cities and their families and moved them to small villages. They had also mined the southern coast of Britain to prevent possible attacks. And all over Germany and Britain, blackout at night was mandatory.
Yes, guys. Now I want to talk about the occupation times and giving the details about the German occupation. Let's go, guys, without wasting the time.
People's reactions to the German occupation were different. Some of them joined communist groups to fight against the Nazis. Some joined anti-communist and the anti-Jewish groups to help the Nazis. For example, one of these groups was the French Volunteer Legion, or LVF, and it recruited volunteers to fight against the Soviet Union. The France and Norway governments had to cooperate with the Germans. The leaders of Poland, Czechoslovakia, Norway, Netherlands, Greece, Luxembourg, and Yugoslavia fled to London and formed governments in exile. The kings of Belgium and Denmark stayed in their countries, and the king of Belgium was captured. And three of the important events that happened during the occupation, we can mention Hitler's trip to Paris, which took place 9 days after the occupation of Paris, and his famous photo was taken in front of the Eiffel Tower. And another important event was Operation Dynamo, which took place it happened on May 26 to June 1940, in which more than 300,000 soldiers were evacuated from the French beaches of Dunkirk. And even Christopher Nolan, one of my favorite directors, made a beautiful movie called Dunkirk for it, starring the famous actors like Cillian Murphy and Tom Hardy in 2017. And of course, one of the interesting facts that we can be said about Dynamo operation was the small boat Thamesine, which was able to take a large number of people from the shore to the ships that were in deeper parts. The Thamesine was only 4.4 meters long. As the third important event that we can point to during the occupation, we can point to the formation of the Vichy government. The Vichy government was established by Marshal Pétain, and this government cooperated with Nazis. But the Germans also occupied Vichy in 1944, and Marshal Pétain was recognized as a traitor after the war, and he was sentenced to death. But with the help of his old friend and comrade, General de Gaulle, this death sentence became life imprisonment. Also, after that, the city of Vichy, which was the capital of the Vichy government, became the most notorious city in France.
Yes, guys, and this is the occupation time. Now I wanna talk about the resistance group exist in Europe and fight against the Nazis and the fascists. Let's go, fellows!
At first, the resistance was scattered and isolated, but gradually the resistance groups became more coherent and stronger with the financial and intelligence support of the Soviet Union and Great Britain. Four of the most famous resistance groups are the Polish Patriotic Army, which which was responsible for the Warsaw uprising, but was suppressed by the SS forces. Second, the forces of a Free France, which were gathered under the order of General de Gaulle. Third one, the resistance groups of the Danish spies who were gathering information for the British. And finally, the Dutch resistance groups that sheltered the Jews and helped the Allied airborne forces. And among the most important figures of the resistance, we can mention King Christian X. When the Germans attacked Denmark on April 9, 1940, King Christian X, unlike the kings of the other countries, stayed in his own country, and his government was not under the burden of cooperating with Germany, and he gave a lot of help to Jews to escape. And he died on April 12, 1947, almost 2 years after the end of World War II.
Well, we talked about important resistance group in Europe, but which group was the most powerful resistance group in Europe and who founded it?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I will introduce you to the Yugoslav partisans, the most successful resistance group in Europe. This group was founded and organized by Tito, the leader of the Communist Party of Yugoslavia, and had 150,000 members. In 1944, the partisans and the forces of the Soviet Red Army together took back Yugoslavia from the Germans with the sacrifices they made. Well guys, I want to show you two famous weapons that the resistance groups used during the occupation. Well, our first weapon is the 9mm Mark II semi-automatic rifle, which the Danish resistance made from the British stand, which was light and easy to hand weapon. The reason for the popularity of this weapon was its easy and cheap production. And the second case is the Kender Bertha Silent 9mm pistol, which was used by the anti-fascist organization and suppression, which was established to eradicate and resist against the Italian fascist governments.
Esse io muoio da partigiano. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Esse muoio da partigiano. Tu mi devi seppellir e seppellire la sua montagna. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Seppellire la sua montagna sotto l'ombra d'un ben fior. Yes guys, this is the resistance groups, and now I want to talk about the Germany's armies. One of the strongest army exists in the human story. Let's go, fellows!
The German army, or the armed forces of Nazi Germany, was a collection of several different organizations that each reported to Hitler as a commander-in-chief. These organizations include the regular army, or in German language Wehrmacht, the SS Special Forces, which were originally Hitler's personal bodyguards, and many they were members of the Gestapo, secret police, armed divisions of Panzer, Navy or Kriegsmarine, Air Forces or Luftwaffe, militia, reserve forces, and brown shirts. Now, I want to tell you some interesting facts about the Nazi Germany army. SS men, the most feared Nazi organization, wore such armbands. It was known that it also ran concentration camp like Auschwitz, but at first it was Hitler's only personal bodyguards. But his commander, Heinrich Himmler, turned it into a separated security force. SS men wore grey jackets and had a death skull on their helmets. Historians believe that the SS was responsible for the worst crimes in Nazi Germany. But who's the brown shirts? The soldiers of Sturmabteilung were called brown shirts because of their uniforms. This organization formed in 1921 to protect Nazi speakers. The force numbered over 500,000 but was reduced in June 1934 during a power struggle with the army. Well, now I want to tell you how big the Nazi Germany army is. For the size of the Nazi Germany army at that time, enough to know. Today, the total number of the three largest armies in the world, that means the United States, Russia, and China, reached 7,510,000, while the Nazi Germany army at that time was only 12,500,000. There was an infantryman, just the infantryman. Even I didn't give a number about the Air Force, Navy, intelligence forces that Nazi Germany had. And at the end of this part, I want to introduce you a movie named The Man with the Iron Heart, which is about Heinrich Himmler. And I haven't seen this movie yet, but I will soon.
And now we come to the last part of this video. Britain battle. Let's go, fellows.
With the fall of France in June 1940, Hitler hoped that Britain would be satisfied with peace. But Winston Churchill, the new British leader, didn't have such intentions. So Hitler organized a naval attack called Operation Sea Lion. From July to October 1940, the skies of southeast England were the battlefield of air battles, and the British Air Force gradually showed its superiority. And Reich Marshal Hermann Göring, the commander of the German Air Force, was watching the British battle from the coast of France. He thought he could crush the Air Force defenses of southern England in 4 days and defeat the British Air Force in 4 weeks. But it was the Nazi German Air Force that failed. And in the Battle of Britain, a number of Royal Force pilots escaped to England from occupied countries such as Poland, France, Belgium, and joined it. And the most famous fighters of the British Air Force was Spitfire Mark A1, which could reach a speed of 582 km per hour and had a 8 Browning machine gun wearing its wing. 2 types of Messerschmitt were the main German fighters. The Bf-110C was a fighter with a long-range bombers of a low-speed aircraft. It was not easy to fly with it, and it didn't reach the Hurricanes and the British Spitfire. The Bf-109E was faster, but its 660 kilometers range reduced its effectiveness. In the story of human conflicts, there was never such a large population, such a defender of such a small number of people. And Winston Churchill said this beautiful sentence during the World War II.
And we have reached end of this video. I hope you enjoyed the video and learned new things. The next episode of this series will come soon. And if you like the video, please like this video, subscribe my channel, and support me. Thank you. Goodbye. See you later.